Hello there. This is my Gold Dollar 208. I believe that's the model this is. I took this razor and I jointed the edge on the corner of this 1K Chosera and reset the bevel so that it's shaving arm hair again. This is my Shobu. What I'm doing, I want to go from bevel set. This is a 400 grit diamond plate. I want to go from bevel set on a Japanese stone. This is what a lot of owners years ago started calling a one stone hone. But I kind of want to run through this for people that are new to honing. Maybe you don't have a whole lot of money, but you can afford one good stone. This is a good option. A cheap 1K stone, like a king or something like that, and one of these a Shobu or a small J-nat, finishing J-nat, a small hard J-nat is a great option. And what I've done is I've created a slurry. That slurry actually needs, I've not done this in a while, folks. This slurry needs to be much thicker than what it is, for me, in my opinion anyway. Alright, let's try that again. But that's better. This is a good, viable option for someone that doesn't have very much money, but they got enough to get a pretty decent stone and a cheap 1K. Or a 1200 or a 1500, something like that. And I'm using the Japanese half strokes on this stone because it's a small stone and they are faster. I tend to like a regular old single stroke because it's more controllable, I think. And I think these half strokes are kind of like they're similar to when I teach knife sharpening, and you stay on one side until you create a burr, then you flip it over and stay on the other side until that burr rolls over onto that side. I think the half strokes, this is just my opinion, as there'll be half a dozen people or more probably, if they see this video, that'll say that's not so, that I'm not correct. I really don't care. This is my feeling on this subject, and that is that you can create a burr on a straight razor with these half laps, these Japanese half strokes, if you're not careful. And I think that's a lot of times where you see people talking about removing a burr on a straight razor is because of the type of lap, the type of stroke that you're using. And what I'm doing, I'm graduating pressure. When I begin to hone on one side of the razor, I've got more pressure toward the heel, and then I'm graduating as I come across that stone. I'm moving heel to toe with pressure. I'm not lifting the razor off the stone. I'm just graduating the pressure across the stone. And if you look at this slurry, it's quite dark now, right? That means it's been cutting this razor. So I'm going to rinse that off. Rinse the plate off. And build another slurry. This one I'll build a bit lighter than the first. But you see the difference in the color of this slurry versus the slurry that I just washed off of the blade and off of the stone. You can already see the slurry trying to change color. It's not quite as milky white as it was before. And I'm not counting strokes or anything like that. Add a little bit of water to it. And this is not really an instructional video. I'm just honing, and I thought I would bring you along. You notice I usually use tape, but there's none on this razor. This is a gold dollar. They're generally heavy, and it ain't hurting a thing to take some of the thickness off of this spine whatsoever. Now I'm alternating because I want to kind of blend the striations on the edge that I've been getting from the half laps. I'm trying to smooth them out now. This is just the way I hone. It's not got nothing to do with right or wrong. It's got to do with what I prefer. I'm still graduating pressure across the stone and across the edge of this blade. And I'm going to go with one more slurry. Very light. You can see how that slurry passes across that edge. It's pretty much perfectly mated to this stone. That's what I look for. I don't look for stiction or anything like that. I want to see how that water is moving across the stone. Or across the... I want to see how the razor is moving across the surface of the stone and how that water or slurry rolls up over the edge of that blade, and then it's down to feel. And I'm lightening up my pressure because I was using a bit of pressure. I'm lightening it up. I've got a tiny bit of torque toward the edge of the razor always, but very light pressure, light to no pressure, just enough to keep the razor from skipping up and down on the stone when I pass it across it, so that it's not jumping and carrying on. But that's all the pressure that I'm using. Thin that really well. Alright, I'm going to call that good. I'm pretty sure that it is. I'm going to look at it at the edge in the light, from the light above me. That looks lovely to me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move me let me clean that off. I'm going to move my black Arkansas here. Actually, I'm going to turn it like that. Make sure you can see. I've been looking in the... If you've seen me get up like this before in this video, I don't know if I have or not, but I'm trying to check and make sure that everything's in the camera. I'm going to add just a touch of soap so that I get a little bit more slip. Fairly light. to no pressure. Remember, this is an Arkansas stone. This stone will utterly trash your edge if you are not careful of it and you do not respect it. It's harder than any J-knot you'll ever run a razor across, or probably any other stone that you'll ever use. Now, I'm not counting anything, I'm just going until everything feels the way I think it should feel. And then I'll stop. And I wish, that's one of the things that is really hard to describe, and a lot of honers kind of make mention of it, like I do, because it's an important part of the process, but it's not something that is easy to articulate. But what you feel under the edge, you will learn as you hone. And that's not something that I can show you or tell you. That's one of the things people don't understand, particularly nowadays. People want someone on YouTube or someone to take them by the hand, or however it is that they think someone is going to teach them. Lighten up again even more. And tell you all the secrets. And I hate to tell you this, but you have to reach out and grab those secrets. There are things that a teacher cannot teach you, that you're going to have to learn by doing something. And now I can feel the razor really smooth out a lot on this stone. So, in my opinion, we're done. But there are things that you're going to have to learn just simply through. You notice I'm not using a loop of any kind. I don't really need them. I like them. They're a wonderful tool, just like every other tool. But they're not necessary. And there's a little spot there that is now gone, that I did not like. And what I'm going to do, it's kind of like learning to sharpen anything. I know with woodworking tools, there's a lot of beginner woodworkers now, that's beautiful, that they learn to sharpen their chisels and they think they get fantastic edge and they think the chisel is really, really sharp, and then they'll continue to sharpen, and they'll end up on a level that's higher than what they had previously, and they will go, well, I've got it now. And then they'll sharpen a little bit more, and about the third or fourth time that happened to them, they realize that they finally reached what really sharp really was. But it took them a while. It's the same when honing a razor or doing or learning anything. You can take my advice for what you think it's worth, but I have learned how to do an awful lot of things, and they all have that in common. That there's parts of whatever it is that you're trying to learn that go beyond a beginner or an intermediate position or phase or whatever you want to call it, and move into, you know, seriously knowing and understanding what it is that you're trying to learn. And that doesn't come any other way but experience on, in this case, experience on the stones. So I'm going to strop that up and do a hanging hair test. And I fully expect that it will pass that with no problem. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.